Wrap up the day's action with highlights.
And it's caught. Touchdown.
And reactions from players and coaches around the league.
I love going to war with these guys.
NFL Game Day Final, tonight at 11:30 on NFL Network.
You can't win every game. Well, wait a minute. One team did way back when.
It's amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit.
The word perfection, it's on the ring.
The Chiefs and Raiders wrap up the regular season today in Vegas for the first game of Week 18. The Chiefs, playoff bound. Patrick Mahomes, 8-1 against the Raiders. 26 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions against Vegas. And Davante Adams went off last week against the Niners. Over $150, 2 touchdowns. How will he follow that up? Chiefs, Raiders coming up.
It's the Raiders and the Chiefs.
Dominate from the first step to the last step.
Smash our rival.
He's off to the races. Bye-bye, Josh.
Jerick McKinnon is a touchdown machine.
Ain't nowhere to hide. You ain't gotta see me come and keep me on your mind. 'Cause I'll be on the way.
Energy all day.
It's that comeback. I'm calling plays, hit the pass, then the run back.
Y'all saw that? I know y'all saw that.
The Raiders' last home win against the Chiefs came in 2017 in Oakland. Apparently, Alaska loves them and is watching as well.
Raider Nation is everywhere, Colleen.
That's right. And it's here today. NFL Network welcomes you into Game Day Kickoff. Colleen Wolfe with Steve Smith Sr., Maurice Jones-Drew. We're here on a Saturday together for this doubleheader of football. We're usually together on Thursdays with a couple Saturdays sprinkled in. But this is a big one because it is the regular season finale. And, of course, the Chiefs are playing for a lot. They get the 1 seed in the conference with a win against the Raiders. So let's start it off right here. Steve, will they take care of business today against Vegas?
We already talked about it earlier in the segment.
Well, maybe people missed it.
No cop, no stop. Of course they are. They're going to go
straight from the DMV.
I'll set you up. You took a big mouse bass. Gotcha. I got the Raiders being a great team for next year. This is the Chiefs' game. The question is, how bad will they run through them, and will this defense shows up? There are times the Kansas City Chiefs defense at times they get lulled to sleep a little bit. I'm not sure if you paid attention. But Davante Adams, number 17, in those Fire Jays, you got to cover that guy. Okay? Don't pass him off to the next guy because the next guy's passing him off to the next guy. And that was your guy. So figure out how to slow him down. Don't give your teammates indigestion by not keeping your eyes on your luggage.
Well, I'll say this. I think if you're talking about Patrick Mahomes, what he'll be able to do, we know he's going to put up points. They're going to probably get to the 28, 35 between there. Defensively, though, it's going to be Chris Jones in this defensive line. Frank Clark, you guys are going to have to find a way to get to the quarterback, right? Chris Jones is going to have to do that, get that initial pressure, and make Jarrett Stidham uncomfortable back there, right? And there's always an adage of you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Well, not against Chris Jones if he's running at you. We saw the way he got after Russell Wilson. So I think you're exactly right, Steve. If they want to finish business here and lock it up in Vegas and all the other little stuff people were talking about, defensively, you have to get after the quarterback and shut down Davante Adams.
This was a very tight game the last time they played back in Week 5. The Chiefs won by 1 point. There wasn't a huge margin of error there, but this feels like different teams at this point, obviously, especially with the quarterback position being different for Vegas. So let's welcome in Steve Wyche, who is live at Allegiant Stadium. The Chiefs, they have a lot at stake today, a week off and home field throughout the playoffs, pending those neutral site scenarios, of course. But what are the players saying about getting that coveted top spot?
Well, quickly, Colleen, first off, Raiders running back Josh Jacobs, who missed almost all of practice this week, as Tom Pelissero outlined, mainly for personal reasons, looked very good and very fresh in warm-ups. He's going to go. And as Chiefs linebacker Nick Bolton told me, they have got to get 6 or 7 hats on him on every play. Bolton also reiterated that number 1 seed isn't even a thought. He said especially defensively because they've got to affect Jarrett Stidham, as you guys were talking about, and the cornerbacks have got to get hands on wide receiver Davante Adams, and the safeties have to be there to help. Otherwise, they know they could be in for a long day. For the Raiders, there's no tomorrow, as cornerback Nate Hobbs summed up. The mission for today is to diminish the Chiefs' playoff hopes and to hand them that L. Colleen?
Thank you, Steve Wyche. They're live at Allegiant Stadium ahead of our first game here today on this Saturday. So let's swing it around to the Chiefs offense. And tight end Travis Kelce, he's a huge part of their success year after year. He leads all tight ends this season with 12 touchdowns and 1,300 receiving yards. He's always balling. But Steve, would you teach us a little bit about what you're seeing from Kelce's style?
Can I go with you? You can go with me. You got a mall walk, though.
I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay right here.
I'm not going to walk that fast, Steve.
What?
I was on the steps this morning. You know what I'm saying? I was on the steps this morning.
Well, Travis Kelce is doing things in a way that most receivers do.
Right.
Travis Kelce understands leverage. He understands also, too, DB coaches and what DBs are teaching what you should not do and what you should do. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what you should not do. First of all, this is an outstanding linebacker. This is Simmons for the Arizona Cardinals. He thinks that he has a chance. He doesn't.
Go ahead.
You go ahead and give him that two-step rocker. Two-step. So he already got his first victim with a two-step. Defenders tells you 2 steps is never the first move. Let me show you. Defenders are always taught it's never the first move, it's the second move. But when you're a potential Hall of Famer, okay, when you understand what's going on, you understand exactly what you're doing. 2 steps is the key. Let me show you what he does. He doesn't give him the 2-step. Okay. He takes it and he says, okay, he gives him 1,
not the
2.
wop.
He gave him the 1, 2, then he gives him another one, this third move. It just gets the linebacker to give him everything he has. Now, Travis is not as swift and elusive as he used to be, but he understands exactly how to get open, and that's a tough corner, safety, or linebacker to cover. But he, as a tight end, he runs his routes like a receiver.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Travis Kelce is you see he has basketball moves, right? Mm-hmm. He's a basketball player. Antonio Gates used to do this. I was calling the game with them against the Rams, and the one play that he had was against Jalen Ramsey. And at the top of his route, Steve, he gave him that exact same move. But instead of breaking out, he broke across the field and was what we call wide open in the neighborhood. They call it something else I ain't gonna say because we're on TV, but people watching. They want us to walk, but we're gonna walk back.
Come back on over here. When was the last time a tight end this much of a focal point of a number one offense? Like, you see Travis Kelce.
I'm going to say Gronk. Gronk with the Patriots.
Gronk, you can see that.
But this is the thing, though. Travis Kelce is a different breed. There's not a lot of tight ends like him, right? Some tight ends, you have guys that can, block really well, run average routes. Some guys can do a little bit of all over the field, he's a weapon. Yeah. You can hand him the ball off. You can do a lot of things. They find ways to get him the ball in different ways. He lines up out wide, lines up tight. And the best part about it is it doesn't matter who you cover him with. A linebacker, a safety, a corner, he's a bigger matchup than a corner. He's quicker than most safeties and linebackers. And Patrick Mahomes knows that if he gets one-on-one, I'm just going to give my guy opportunity.
Mm-hmm. You asked what other guys. I'll just name a few. Tony Gonzalez.
Gonzalez,
he was really good.
Yeah.
Hall of Famer.
The Hall of Famer, Ozzie Newsome.
Hall of Famer.
And then you have a former Los Angeles/Oakland Raider, Todd Christensen.
Okay. Oh, you went all the way back with that one.
You start talking about football, and I get excited. I'm a historian. I love watching football and honoring those men because without those guys, we don't stand up.
Right,
here.
No question.
Those are the guys that I watched. Mm-hmm. I grew up in Los Angeles watching the Raiders play and knowing those guys and seeing the battles, and those are the guys that I remember that I said, wow, that's how you do it. Cliff Branch, right? Just all the different players. So those guys really played. They were ahead of their time.
Mm-hmm. And even when Jimmy Graham was at his best in New Orleans, I remember that being such a huge debate of whether or not, even with fantasy.
Don't do that.
How are you going to categorize him, especially for getting paid in contracts? But anyway, Kelce with the numbers to back up another successful season, leads all tight ends by a wide margin in catches, receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, and 100-yard games. teams, they know he's a threat, but he still puts up those big numbers. Now, the Raiders defense obviously has to deal with Kelsey and Kansas City's other playmakers today. They're out of playoff contention, but they have a ton to still play for, a chance to ruin the Chiefs' regular season finale, take that hit for the 1 seed that Casey's trying to get. So how can the Raiders pull off the upset, MJD?
So this is the thing. It's funny because I always hear players say like, "Oh, we're gonna play the Grinch," or "We're gonna like." No, you're not. You're not going out there to do that to ruin someone. You're going out there to make sure that you have a job next year. That's the way you go out and you take this 1 seed, that you play the best that you can play. Right? You be the best player, the best corner, pass rusher, whatever you're doing that you could be, so that you're on the Raiders next year or on someone else's roster because of how you perform today. That's how you're going to beat them, by Jarrett Stidham getting the ball to Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs running the ball, being able to use that play-action pass like they did in the first week when it was a one-score game, right? Defensively, not being terrible in the red zone. Making sure if you're playing press man on some of these guys that you get your hands on them and press. That you allow Max Crosby and this defensive line to get there. And the other thing that they have to do is you have to be able to tackle in space if you're the Las Vegas Raiders. You have to tackle in space. The Kansas City Chiefs do a great job of getting their playmakers in space. And as we're sitting here looking at Max Crosby, hey, you want to win? Make sure that dude gets in the backfield and gets a bunch of tackles for loss and is harassing Patrick Mahomes all night chasing him.
I just think with the Las Vegas Raiders, when you look at what they're trying to do and you look at where the Kansas City Chiefs are going after this game. They're obviously going in 2 different directions.
Right.
But how the Las Vegas Raiders finishes this game really sets up to the front office of what they need to look at heading into the offseason. Who will stay? Who will go? Do they franchise tag Josh Jacobs? You put all of that stuff in there to make sure that he proves he has a prove-it deal. Now you have to show Josh Jacobs, based off what has happened, in its totality,
right,
how you've handled Carr's situation. Is this an organization that I truly want to be with moving forward? Because you see how they handled a veteran. How are they going to handle me as I get older?
You know what's going to happen?
I think he's going to move on.
Whoever offered the most money, you go get it.
I mean, he's in that position right now. He balled out this year, and now this could potentially be his final game with the Raiders, or at least wearing that uniform. So we'll see what happens. But, of course, the other game tonight, our PM game, AFC South. Oh, my goodness, on the line in Jacksonville today.
5 a.m. every morning, I pull up and I kiss that statue before I went in. Good luck.
Titans streaking the wrong way with 6 straight losses, and the Jags, they ride 4 consecutive wins into today. The winner of today's game wins the 4th seed in the AFC and the title. The Jags, they can still get in the playoffs as the 7th seed with a loss if New England, Miami, and Pittsburgh all lose their games.
That all sound good, but we don't want to worry about that.
Okay, fine. We'll wait and see. Let's